it's Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow for Expansions.com. And as you can see, it's a busy morning here. I've got breakfast going for my children, and I've got lunches going, and I've got to put this pot roast on this morning. So I want to show you how to use a crock pot because I have a busy day planned, and I want to show you how in the midst of all of this you can get dinner going and be free for your day. So I have a 7-quart crock pot here. I'm going to take the lid off. This happens to be a pork butt roast, and a lot of times people don't know the best kind of roast to put into a crock pot, but usually a butt roast for pork, or a shoulder roast, or for beef you want a chuck roast, or perhaps a shoulder roast. So I'm going to put a rub on here, and my base is Annie's Organic Dijon Mustard. And if you don't want to have a wet rub, you can do it all dry if you like. This is 2 teaspoons of sage. I'm going to put in here. This is a teaspoon of rosemary. I have in here about 1.5 teaspoons of thyme. That's going in, and I have 2 teaspoons of black pepper. Now you'll notice I don't put any salt in because salt actually draws the juices out of the meat, and I want my juices to stay in the meat as much as possible. Some people like to take their roast before they put it in the crock pot and sear it in a frying pan with oil. And I have done that, but I can't really tell it's any difference, and to me it's just another pot to wash. When you put it in, you're going to want to put it in with if you have a layer of fat, the fat goes up, so the fat goes into the meat. So I'm going to start by putting my rub here on the bottom, because this is what's going to go down. And I just take my hands and smear it around, because I want to get it into the meat, and as I'm doing it, I think good thoughts about feeding my family and give thanks for the food. And then I'm going to put this into the crock pot. Oops, let's get this side done. Turn it over. Now if you want, you can cut an onion and put it on the bottom, or a potato. But I haven't, they say it's supposed to make it so it doesn't stick, but I haven't noticed that that makes a big difference. If you have a smaller family, of course, you might be able to get away with a smaller crock pot and a smaller roast, but I like a big roast, so hopefully I can get 2 days to feed my family. And then this is one of those days when if I have a little extra time, I'll bake bread or do something like that. And then let me just quick rinse my pans. I put the lid on, I turn this over on high, and I'm done for the day. So it's very, very easy. If you're working, what you can do is go ahead and add some potatoes or carrots or turnips, any root kind of vegetables that you want. Or for myself, what I'll do in a couple hours is I'll turn it down to low, and then around noon or so, since I work out of my house, I'll put in my vegetables for the day that I decide to use. You could also do broccoli or anything like that. It's not going to be really crisp in there. It's going to make your leafier vegetables, like I'll say broccoli or cauliflower, very, very soft, but it depends on what you want and what your end result is. Anyway, we'll check on it later, but I want to get you started, and we'll see you in a few minutes, or a couple hours, so to speak, for a crock pot. Bye-bye for now. Okay, here we are later in the day, and I want to show you what's happening with our beautiful pork roast. So let's take off the lid. You can see it's bubbling away in there. It really looks nice and it smells delicious. What I'm going to do to thicken up the broth is I'm going to put in about 2 or 3, maybe 4 even, tablespoons of coconut flour. Now you can use whatever you like, but that's what I'm going to do because I like a little bit of the flavor. You can also add a little bit of ginger to the broth if you like. And I'm going to just stir that in so it can continue to cook and thicken a little bit. Alrighty, now over here I want you to look. This is a rutabaga. You may have seen turnips. I've shown you that before. I've peeled one, cut it up into sections, and that's going in to my juices, which will also help the flavor and cook. And again, if you're gone for the day, you can put these in the morning. They'll just be a little bit softer. I have potatoes, some red ones and some white ones I'm going to put in. If you like, you can add, as I mentioned earlier, some carrots, onions, if you put them in earlier, you'll probably want to go ahead and use the larger pieces. Look, here's even a bulb of garlic that we could put in if we wanted. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going for a garlic flavor today, but you could easily add that in. And then when your bulb is whole, it's really nice. You just squeeze it right out of the, what I would call the garlic paper. And then I have some mushrooms I'm going to put right in on top of that. So this is going to be a beautiful, easy one-pot dinner. And put the lid back on. I've had it on low. I'm going to turn it back up to high. But as I mentioned earlier, if you are gone for the day, you can stew everything in the morning. I just do mine in steps since I'm here anyway. And we'll check it in a couple more hours, and then you'll watch as I unload it, and we'll have a beautiful dinner ready to go. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, here we are back a couple hours later. So let's take the lid off the crock pot. It smells wonderful. I'm going to turn it down to my keep warm. You can see the mushrooms are beautiful, so I'm just going to start moving a few of the vegetables over here. And potatoes are done. Really nice. And we have some of the rutabagas here. I see they're falling apart, so that's why I said if you put them in a little bit earlier, there's your white potatoes, they're going to be a little bit more apt to fall apart, which is okay, like I said. Just depends on what your schedule is. If you don't have any preconceived notions, you don't have any disappointments. So as this comes off, you're going to see how tender and beautiful this roast is. So let's move this over. And I'm just going to use my tongs and start pulling it apart. So it just falls apart. It's really beautiful. So we just put some of the roast on the plate like this. That's the bone I told you about. So put that on and just add a couple potatoes. Let's put a white one on. A couple pieces of the rutabaga. See if we got another one in there. Yep. Rutabaga, and of course, as I mentioned, we have some beautiful mushrooms. And oops. And then stir up a little bit of the gravy in there. I'll get a spatula and pull that out in a minute. And over here, I just prepared some greens. So we have some broccolini that's going to go on. And we have a couple of green beans. And you can see what an easy dinner this is. So like I was telling you, you can do anything very, very fast and easy in your crock pot. This is the pork butt roast. You can also do a pork shoulder, which is very nice. And I have an oven recipe for pork loin, which one of these days I will share with you. But this gives you an idea of how easy that you can have a lovely, nutritious dinner cooking for you while you're off doing whatever it is you need to do all day. And come home to a lovely dinner. And something that will, you can have leftovers for another day or two, depending upon your lifestyle, or you can put some in the freezer and then take it out another day. But anyway, we're going to go sit down and have our dinner. I hope you're having a wonderful, nutritious dinner as well. And I look forward to seeing you again on another edition of Healthy Eating with Diane Mourglia-Swerdlow, expansions.com. Bye-bye now.